Dr. Alvin Roth, in your new book, Who Gets What and Why, you talk a lot about markets, stock, bond, commodity, but you start off with the human kidney market. Can you explain why?
So the kidney exchanges that I've worked on are some of the most unusual markets. One reason is that they don't allow money to be used at all. It's against the law to buy and sell kidneys in the United States and in most of the world. But there are not enough kidneys, and there are 100,000 people waiting for a deceased donor kidney in the United States today. So it's good to facilitate transplants when we can, and one way to do it is by exchange. Kidney donors can be living donors because you have two kidneys, and if you're healthy enough to give a kidney, you could remain healthy with one. But sometimes you're healthy enough to give a kidney, and then that would allow you to save the life of someone you love, except that they can't take your kidney. Your kidney isn't compatible with them. And I might be in the same circumstance, and it might be possible that you could give a kidney to my patient, and I could give a kidney to the person you loved, and so two lives would be saved, and two transplants would be done that otherwise couldn't have been done. So that's an exchange. It's a trade that benefits both parties, and it doesn't involve any money.
And what lesson does that give you about markets in general? What can we glean from that?
So there are lots of markets, unlike financial markets, in which the job of the market is not to find the price at which supply equals demand. Labor markets are like that. The street doesn't hire people by lowering the wage until just enough journalists want to come and report. Stanford University doesn't admit students by raising the tuition until just enough students want to come. Lots of students would like to come to Stanford, even though it's expensive. And so the marketplace for college admissions has other institutions, not just price market clearing institutions. They have applications and admissions. And these are markets, they're matching markets. They're markets in which you can't just choose what you want, even if you can afford it. You also have to be chosen.
All right, let's talk about the market which we're on, Wall Street. People have been talking a lot about high-frequency trading and the problems that come with it, and as well as the benefits. So what's your view on high-frequency trading? Is it good for the market or is it bad?
Well, if trading is too slow, that's bad. But it turns out if it's too fast, that can cause problems too. So marketplaces have to help make the market thick, and then they have to deal with congestion, and they have to be safe to transact in. And when you look at financial markets, they're quite thick. They're commodity markets, so you can make offers to the whole market. But the way we would like them to work, the way they work best, is when people compete on price. And some of high-frequency trading goes on as competition on speed rather than price, because a market that's thick when you look at it over minutes or seconds can become thin when you look at it at milliseconds. And the current design of many financial markets is continuous time double auction. The first person to get the order takes it. So for instance, there are market designers like Eric Budish at the University of Chicago who are proposing that instead we might consider having every second a call market in which supply is crossed with demand and we find the price that clears them. And that would bring competition back to competition on price rather than competition on speed.
And what about the government's role in slowing it down? A lot of people are talking about Dodd-Frank right now and getting the government further regulating stock trading in America, maybe even adding a tax onto it. You're hearing that on the campaign trail. What's your view?
Markets need good rules in order to be able to work freely. But the rules can sometimes be supplied by government and sometimes by private rule suppliers. The New York Stock Exchange supplies plenty of its own rules, but some of the rules that govern the New York Stock Exchange are laws, and the Attorney General of the state of New York is involved in enforcing some of them. So which are the right rules depends on the environment, and the rules have to keep up with the changes in the environment. So I think the right discussion is not who should make the rules or how many rules should there be, but rather what are the right rules to make the market work efficiently.
And then what about these new shared markets that are developing? Things like Airbnb and Uber. What's the future of the shared economy?
So those are matching markets, and there are now big, fast-growing companies that make markets. Uber and Airbnb are like that, but so is Google. Google is a marketplace for ads. eBay and Amazon are markets for stuff. And the fact that we now carry marketplaces in our pockets with our smartphones means that markets are much more accessible even than they used to be a little while ago. So I think that there are going to be a growing number of companies that operate markets.
And then the laws have to catch up with these markets. That's one of the things that we found in a lot of these cases, whether it be Google or Airbnb. It takes a while for the legal system to catch up with the technology.
Absolutely. Uber entered a market that had lots of taxi monopolies, each in separate cities and jurisdictions. And loosely speaking, they're ignoring those regulations, and the rules will catch up. Similarly, Airbnb. If you rent your spare bedroom in Manhattan, you may be violating some regulation about hotels or about condos that you might live in. And those rules will have to catch up too. You might not like it if your neighbor operates an Airbnb apartment in your building. We have to figure out what are the right allocation of property rights to take care of that.
In other words, who gets what and why. Thanks a lot for coming on, Dr. Roth.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching The Street.